uh, yay!
Hey.
So, uh, we left, where did we leave off? May?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So, for May 2025, I pulled warm-ups.
Mm.
And so in this particular card, it's floor warm-ups, lying down, arms out, knees up. And so I felt like May potentially has a time to need more spine resetting, and even potentially a reset around sexuality, because like the angle of this
Mm.
pose, like, you it could be seen in a sexual light if like the clothing and things like that were different.
Mm.
And so there's something in there of like, oh, maybe I, like, Kate will need to rethink how I use my sexuality or exude my sexuality or rest my sexuality. That's what was coming up for me for May.
Mm. For May, for me, I pulled sustenance, which is 9 of Cups. Uh, the shapeshifter, which is the Hanged Man, and legacy, which is the 4 of Pentacles. And this is one of the days where what I journaled for the day reflected very well with the cards. There are some days where like you're like, oh, how did that? Okay, that's an interesting thing. But this is one of the days where it was like everything I observed really matched up with how the cards fell out. So it was uh expansion and satisfaction and growth, but body, mind, and spirit being in harmony,
Mhm.
as well as uh a moment of pause in suspension, like that sort of active waiting right before something new turns over. It's like, and yeah. But then also legacy with um, gifts and earthly vitality and power and material success. And what's interesting is the day was previously there's been a lot of activity with birds and clouds and weather and things. Um, but that day was really quiet, both in nature and at work. And that was also the new moon. And then I did get a large deposit in my bank that was not something I had to work for. Um, and then we watched Harry Potter Harry Potter 7 Part 2, which is also like really intense and turnover. Um, so it was just really interesting the way that the day laid out. And then I drew these cards as well. And I was like, I swear I did some really good cleansing and clearing before I asked, but dude, it really matched up. So that was an interesting day. And now I'm really looking forward to May.
Okay. Delightful. I pulled the 2 of Cups for May. I refused to interpret it and kept moving.
Why?
I just, well, when we get to the lovers later on, we're gonna really not see what I don't interpret. I we're gonna see what I skip over entirely. I did write. be unapologetic about what you love. Lean into the things that you like, that you could, like love what you love more than you hate what you hate. There you go.
Doesn't have to be a person. Just putting that out there.
It's never a person. That's why we don't interpret these cards.
Fair.
We just don't do it.
Yep.
Nourishment comes in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, well, I have a lot to say about that, but we'll leave it alone for today. So that was the card I pulled for May.
I pulled the Vow. Excuse
Ooh.
me. The Vow, which is one of the archetypal tools. And the image, I'll share. I'm going to share just the picture of all of the entire year spread in the group chat. But the image for the Vow feels very similar to like Two of Cups and this the cards that wait, why did it do that? The cards that Megan pulled. Why did it just do that? Oh, anyway, technology has been very interesting.
We have our own
Yeah.
mini Mercury retrograde going on here.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So, but it's these like two hands that are clasped, and then there's like a bird above.
All right, where'd my glasses go? Pulling them on, putting them, doing the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, over there, the yellowish with the bird
Mhm.
and the hand. Yes,
It-
okay, I see.
All the way to the left, the second row.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing that?
Check your phone.
She sent both, but yeah, but there's
Oh, sorry, I sent it in the
Oh,
the
this
text chat,
chat.
not the
I thought
Yes.
the
that
Zoom chat.
chat. Run, chat.
I just saw a link come up and I was like, bing, pick.
Mm.
Okay.
This is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And is this still organized like you were saying before in terms of tools and you had 3 different piles previously. Do you still have, is it still organized like that?
So those 3 piles are with the
With the
Wild Unknown Alchemy deck,
Oh, okay.
and these are the Wild Unknown archetypes.
Got
But
it.
within the archetypes, there are selves, places, tools, and initiations. And there's
Nice.
one that I'm, for whatever reason, I'm blanking on. There's like another category that I'm blanking on, but those are the. No, maybe it is just it's selves, places, tools, and initiations. I think those are the main ones. But the vow is considered a tool.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, your word is your bond.
This is
Mhm.
very cool. This is very, very cool.
One of the things, so that essay that I sent a snapshot of
Yeah.
on the following page, there's a section about how like this is a year of closing. Basically, it used the metaphor of like closing a book and starting an entirely new book, like with,
Yes.
references to previous book, but like this kind of like new, lots of new story energy. And this like the vow feels a lot like that, of like, oh, there's going to be some sort of commitment, some sort of decision.
A lot of my cards for the year have been like, hey, so that thing that you've been doing, this is going to be a new thing. You can let the old things die. And this is going to be totally new. And some of it you'll be like, hey, cool. And others it'll take some grieving to let that go. And yeah, but all of it so far has been like, yep, this is a big change year. This is big, like we're doing something totally new. This is a new path. Let's go somewhere.
Let's reset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Reset and shift.
Wicked.
Are folks ready to shift to cards pulled for June?
Do it.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Hmm?
I'm
Oh,
reading my notes again and sort of reflecting of like what happened that day. Oh yeah.
so yeah.
By all means, both of
Okay.
y'all,
Right,
keep
go
going.
ahead.
Yeah. Since I'm already kind of in the zone. I pulled Fortune, which is 2 of Wands. Uh the Goddess of Air, um, which translates to King of Wands, and the God of Air. It was interesting to me, the goddess and the god both. So I got the King and the Queen of Wands on the same day, plus 2 of Wands, which was boldness. This was the other of like, oh, an entire thing of air. Okay, all right. Um. So there was a lot of remembering your own power, but also that something a balance between the polarities. There's a lot of uh like royal energy, but a balancing between those extremes, feminine, masculine, up, down, king, queen, a lot of that. Um and then remembering having self-confidence that will and remembering I was taking a was reading a workshop or a email or something. I'm trying to remember where it was. Uh, but they were talking about reframing your whole relationship to money. But in that, learning to ask the question like the answer is going to be yes. So the answer may still be no, but you're asking it as though the answer will be yes helps reframe how you're asking and how you approach the situation rather than with tentativeness and fear. There's a self-confidence of like, I'm going to ask this question respectfully and kindly, but I'm going to ask the question like the answer is going to be yes. So there's this more openness and warmth that pulls that. And then asking in that way, more things come back to you because that's the energy you're sharing. So it was like, oh, that's an interesting perspective and way of framing that. Um, so this, when I was reading this, I was like, oh yeah, it's that. We're doing this big shift, but also have the self-confidence to face that and also ask and attract those good things in this shifty balancing space. So again, that's June. We'll find out. Adventure, whatever it is, it's adventure.
I was given one of the tools for helping with adventure. The card I pulled was the multi-tool. And in this particular illustration, the multi-tool has the pliers out, but everything else tucked in. And so uh, it so what I was writing talked about having all of my tools at the ready and honed and sharpened and easily accessible, and even if I only need one thing out of them, the pliers, like, still good to be prepared. And still good to be still good to be prepared, and a bit ready for anything. And it also happened that the day the day that I pulled this card for June was also the day that I read Caitlin Matthews' most recent article on Omen Days and was like, oh, this is much more culturally specific than I realized. I'm going to pivot to respect, and okay, what I am doing is definitely not Oracle Days this year. Past years it kind of it more has been, but this year it is not, and I will fantastic. New information, pivot, shift, respect the ancients, respect the teacher, and I guess in some ways that kind of that kind of shifting is also a tool, come to think of it.
So speaking of the lovers, um, for June, there was two cards that wanted to come out of the archetype deck. And in the picture, I placed them the way that they came out of the deck as well. So it's the orphan, and then underneath the orphan is the lovers. But like the orphan is almost entirely eclipsing the lovers, which just leads me to believe that there's some like excavating of some sort of grief or something around like the orphan archetype to get to the lovers, which is this beautiful card of like swans and flower, like there's like a rose on it. It's like orange and yellow and very, very pretty. But it's interesting that it comes on the tail end of the vow, like the vow, and then there's like work to be done into um into this kind of like hidden lovers sort of mystery. And a phrase that keeps coming up for me during the 12 days, and then also just like since then, is like flirting with the mystery, flirting with the mysteries. And so like even that kind of like metaphorical, like, ooh, will there be a new like interest of like hobby or art exploration or something that kind of pops up during that time, that also helps me process whatever that orphan archetype is indicating.
I pulled the Queen of Sacred Circles, which is the Queen of Pentacles in this deck. And she is Grandmother Moon, is the person in this deck. And it's an older indigenous woman. The ancestral path uses the different culturals, and sacred circles are the pentacles. They use an indigenous culture. The Menominee, I think, is who they chose, Upper Wisconsin. And she is watching over a baby. And it is so for her, for me, I took it as a reminder that the physical world requires nurturing. So like not just body, not just like the spiritual things, but like body, and also like the people in your world, and being and caring for them and nurturing to them. And so that's what I call the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Sacred Circles.
I love the theme of care that
Yeah.
we have, like caring for your tools, caring for yourselves, care like
Yeah. June.
July.
Okay, I'll go ahead, because July was an interesting one for me, because this was right off the back of our conversation about omens, whether or not whether or not one can see omens if one does not leave the house. So which turns out, yes, you can. Um, that is the answer to the question. But I did actually leave the house that day because I had to go get oat milk. That was important to me. So I went to go get oat milk and I was like, I'm going to look for omens. So I saw fat squirrels. I saw a crow that was not getting its needs met. It had like a little nut and it looked like it was trying to get a car to run over it. And the car didn't do it. But I was like, oh, so you might be here for a minute, but okay. And then I also had a weird dream about somebody. They were like just in the dream the whole time. I was like, why are you here? I don't know you that well, but they were in that dream the whole time. I decided that I don't know what that means. I also decided to switch things up and add a second deck because it was staring at me like, bitch, you gonna use me or nah? And I was like, fine. So
Love it.
one card from each of the decks because if it's not simple, I'm not gonna do it. All right. So the first card that I pulled is the Prince of Swords. And so it's kind of the knight, but this knight is based out of feudal Japan, and he's not in action. He's he's not necessarily in motion, but he is. It's like a meditation of motion. So like you can see that he. Let's see if I can make this. Damn it. Okay, let me see.
Put it in front of your face.
I don't know. Let me unblur my background. That might help. Oh yeah, see that does make a difference. So this is our guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like in weight. He's not really he's not super active, but you can feel the suspended animation for him. And then the other card that I pulled was the Six of Wands.
Oh.
Yeah. Apparently I pick really weird decks. I've learned this. So this is my Six of Wands in this deck. It's a weird deck, but we just know it's a weird deck. So what did we get out of that today? So my thought was about being sure to marshal your thoughts before moving into action to kind of coalesce and get that thought together. And but do take the action. Do take the action. Go ahead and make the motion and movement, but make sure that you've kind of got your thoughts together and that that you're not scattered all over the place before you take that action. So that's where we're at for July.
Mm-hmm.
Back here. There we go.
I sort of wonder if my July card is going to talk with Key's Orphan of June card in some ways, because what I pulled was the Ghost Center Stage. And so in the photo shoot that I did with Dana, we did a few really long exposure photographs. And so for this series, she was standing upstage right, perfectly still. Like how this woman can be as still as she is. It is magic. It is her. It is one of her magic powers, because I then danced and flitted and turned across the stage, and there are like 4 different photographs where you can just barely see a little blur because it was, that long exposure. And so this one, the little blur of me is right by the ghost light. And so I was consequently thinking about July dealing with literal ghosts, metaphorical ghosts, choosing to ghost other people, or like, I cannot deal with you anymore, or being ghosted by others. And just in remembering how we crafted that picture, it also might be fun to run in July, like to run and move and dance and be silly and 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 I was really feeling the push pull and contrasting energies of the absolute stillness needed as well as the movement, and that it felt like there was something in play there about extreme opposites being necessary. Um, and remembering, remembering the simple things around safety, because ghost lights are, sure, there are some stories that are like, it's to keep the ghosts company so that they're not lonely, but it's also so that you don't fall into the orchestra pit and break your leg. Like, there's really a very practical piece there. So it it feels like July is going to have that practical and frivolous play potentially to it.
Hello, small friend face. I see your face. I love it.
We're just cruising around the living room table right now.
Oh, love it.
We almost just picked up my AirPods case and put them into my drink, my glass of drink.
Yeah.
I was like, yay, we're stacking, we're putting things in other things, but not that.
Not that one.
Not that one. Only when it's empty.
Only when it's empty.
Only when it's empty.
So I pulled for July, similarly, a different deck was like, hello, you should pull from me. So I pulled from, it's actually the only tarot deck that I work with. It's the Threads of Fate Ascendant edition. So it's those black cards with like the holographic like rainbow designs. Yeah. And I pulled three of coins. And it's hard, it's so interesting because they're the deck that whenever I try to take a picture of, they just don't show up well at all because of the way that they are. And I think in part it's because they're like, don't take pictures of us. Like, you can take pictures of us to reference and to share with specific folks, but like we're not for like other sharing. So but the great thing about this one, the Three of Coins, is it's got a compass, but like a not like a spinny compass, like the compass that you use to draw and map things out. With a rose, but then it has symbols of the elements in it. So like coins are the earth, but then in each of these I always think that they're like petri dishes. They feel very like petri dish vibes to me. The like coins, because they, even on the ones that aren't coins, sometimes they'll have these kind of like circular just circles that look like petri dishes to me. But in this one, there's the wave for water, like angel wings or wings for air, and then there's fire as well. So you've got all four of these elements kind of focused on here. And then there's this like circle of dots in the background, which sometimes represents like spirit in the card. So it has like it's a very balanced card. But I like the presence of the compass because I always interpret them initially as like swords, but then I'm like, that's not a sword. That's a an implement to navigate and to do some cartography. So I'm also just a big fan of when the Three of Coins appears, because it is the one that appears in life the most often. So what I mean by that is like when I'm out and about, every once in a while I will see a tableau of things that remind me of a specific card. And most often I have like, yeah, three coins on on something else. So like there was a I went to eat with some friends. And so the day that I pulled this card, the day after, it was either the day after or the day before, but time is weird, so I can't remember if it was either. The memory popped up for me. I had gone to dinner with some friends, and they like on the little tray that they give you to pay was this like very cute mermaid, but our change was 3 quarters, and so it was literally just this tray with this mermaid and then these 3 quarters, and I was like, oh, it's the 3 of coins, like literally. And so I took a picture of it, and so it popped up in my memories around the same day that I pulled this card. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is reinforcing this for July. Yeah.
Yay. Hi, face. Oh, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Yeah.
You want your walker? No, we want the skull. We've been playing with this a lot.
It's good to know the bones in the body.
Indeed.
Oh, true. True.
Hmm?
Funny. Yeah, what a weird day. July, I pulled power, which translates to the chariot. The double, which I'm not sure it has a corresponding card, and then the warrior of fire, which is like the knight of swords. Um,
Of swords, not of
of,
wands.
of swords. Yeah.
Yep, it's cool. Just wanted to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yeah, so there was again like success, but also balance and blending cosmic and earthly powers, overcoming fear, and then in that, um, a discernment, a pausing and like a subtle examine and then move kind of moment. Um, Exercising discipline. There we go. I was like, there's another word that I'm talking about. Like you're doing it, but there's like a discipline in the way that it's being done. Um, and then having a direction, having a creative drive, having uh forward as where I keep going because of the sword, but yeah, a new creative expression. And given that it's July and I'm hoping that there's possibilities of Shakespeare, Renaissance Fair, uh, my son's birthday, and other anniversaries of people's deaths and things. Yeah, I'm curious to see what shift will need some discernment, but whatever it is, it sounds like it will be successful, but it will need some discipline in a powerfully positive way.
August.
Mm. For all of the action of July, August is very uh pausing. I got stasis, which is 8 of swords, strength, which is 9 of wands, and passage, which is 6 of swords. And it's very like, okay, now is a time of waiting. Now is a time of. It's funny that the word frigidness came up because it was also really cold that day. It was like, right, yeah, But it's a time of waiting, a time of considering options. Um, and so if it's waiting, use that time. Prepare, look at all of what you have. What are you working with? Because it's a time of pause. So take stock of all of your tools and what you've been doing. Get the resources ready, care and reset, because you're also going to need some extra communication coming, so that you can move away from problems. I wanted to go and look up, does anybody know by chance the retrograde times for the coming year? I had looked up some full moon, new moon stuff, but I didn't look up that. But I wondered, given what it said about being clear with communication, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's one of those little blippy blip times of the year, because you never know. But yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like July will be a whole lot of like different kind of like forward energy, and then August will be like, okay, hang on a sec, just pause, reconnect, remember what's up. Yeah, so that's what I got from.
That essay that I sent a snippet of
Oh,
has like a section, like a index appendix. It has like a little section at the end of it that has all of the like major, I think, retrogrades and transits. So I'll just take a picture of that and send it to the group chat.
cool.
So Mercury goes retrograde on July 18th.
Okay.
I think that is the symbol for Jupiter. Hold on a moment. Let me double check the planetary key. Am I correct? Yes, Jupiter goes retrograde a few days before Mercury on the 13th
All right.
of July. We'll have a new moon during both of those retrogrades on the 24th.
Mm-hmm.
And then what the fuck is that symbol?
This one with the
And Chiron.
nice.
Chiron goes retrograde on the 30th
All
of
right.
July. So we do have a good amount of retrogrades. Oh, and I missed one on on the 4th of July. That's exciting. On the 4th of July, we have Neptune going
Wow.
retrograde.
Man.
And over the course of this month, we have a couple moon void of courses that, of course, those write themselves pretty quickly, but nothing nothing goes back to being direct in July. If there were other planets that went retrograde beforehand, they do not go direct in July, and we have those additions.
Cool. I had also for the end of August, I have give a lift to a friend, go to sleep early, communicate openly.
I also had preparation tie-in for um, August. The card I pulled was an actor prepares. And for those of y'all who were with the Theater Oracle Troop recently, we had a whole discussion on this card.
Nice.
And so I'm like, will I be in rehearsals? Will I be thinking about backstory or subtext or listening to character and inspiration? stretching, sitting in dimness. But one of the things that I wrote was that preparation for an actor or anyone else looks a lot of different ways, and we'll be we be looking up and out, leading with the heart, finding ways to gently stretch and be comfortable simultaneously. What can be done that does both of those things?
So I totally lied. The Six of Wands actually comes in August. There we go. So that actually is August. We'll talk about it now because I actually had more to say. So the other card I drew was the Four of Sacred Circles, Four of Pentacles. And this card is, I interpret it as, because in this card, it's like the beginning of a vision quest. So like it's a solitary figure in an environment, interior environment, possibly their domicile, and they're like there's a pipe and there's smoke starting to generate around them. And so I interpret it as like, if you don't know what to do, come home. It's time to go inward, harmonize in your environment, get that set to rights. It's for the clarity. And then the Six of Wands, which belongs here, was kind of goes with it, but in that process, allow yourself to remember and mourn what has been lost. And then take the remnants of what is left, what is still remaining, and use that for the building of whatever is new. So, that's my August.
So I pulled the gem for August, which is one of the I actually have to double check if it's a place archetype or if it's a self archetype. Because the wild unknown archetypes, oh no, baby, that's not for baby. Because the wild unknown archetypes are they're based, a lot of the imagery and collages are based in like Jungian psychology. So the gem is the like center of self.
Ooh.
Okay. And so it is this, so actually the back of every single one of the archetype cards, the circle cards is a gem. So that it makes me think that it's an aspect of self. But it was the card that I pulled for my year card last year.
Ooh.
So very like grounding, introspective. The art of the card is this like multi-color prismatic kind of gem. I interpret it as like simultaneously like a thicket and also like muscular veins, artery, like it's got kind of the simultaneous vibe of like being in um plant matter and also body matter. Yeah, so the gem is like one of the main cards that the person who wrote the book talks about, because it's like one of the central images of the entire, like all of the images.
Cool.
Hearing that makes me wonder if your August this year will have some sort of echo or tie-in to last year also, Key, since it's the same card. Wonder about those pathways.
Interesting, yeah.
September. This was one of the ones for me where I was like, Kate, don't go projecting. Don't go projecting, because the card that I chose was ventilating. And what was coming up was learning a new skill. And because, most people don't know how to ventilate in this world. I am one of very few. And so for most people when this card comes up, it is about like honing in on a specific detail, like making that mustache, thinking about the design, like what's the character, consequently what do we want the mustache to say, do we want it to lean into stereotypes, work against stereotypes, and um and for anybody that is picking up this deck for the first time, like, do you want to make a mustache? Do you want to like literally learn a new skill, and thinking about what what could what could potentially be happening in September would be a lot of new skills and deepening of skill. I'm like, that may be. And it is like in this card, uh I'm doing all of the preparation work. I'm pinning down the pattern, I'm getting the lace out, and I was drawn to the phases of the moon on my t-shirt of and thinking about everything being in cycles, and that all creative projects have beginning, middles, and ends that lead to a new beginning. And even though in this card it is a new project, like obviously starting at the beginning patterning place, but it might be in the middle of another project, because it could, like, that mustache could be, oh, the costume designer's like, this actor is now playing 5 different roles, we need to differentiate, and we're gonna do some like facial hair changes to help with character changes. Like, there are a whole lot of other layers that could be going on there, whether different character roles being played, design, and but regardless, like, there's this real intense focus. And even though in this particular um, photograph there are a bunch of other things on the table, wigs, phone, brush, like things that could easily pull away and distract, there's no distraction here. There's just focusing in on the work, and like really putting putting those blinders on of like, here we go.
Hmm.
Okay. I got the Ace of Cups and the Eight of Pentacles for
Mm.
September. So I took the opportunity to write "Thy cup overfloweth," because how often do you get to write that on a piece of paper? Uh, so for the Ace of Cups, I went with actually a lot to say, but like, your external environment will be fulfilling to you, so allow yourself to be overflowing and share and generous and open-hearted and all of those fun things. And also to take a moment to take stock of where you have been. Don't always focus on where you're going all the time. Take a moment to recognize what you've already accomplished, where you have already been, and how far you've already come. So that's my September.
Hmm. I pulled Ruin, which is 10 of Swords, the Journey, which doesn't have a corresponding, and Change, which is the Two of Pentacles. So another, for the 10 of Swords, it's the end of a delusion. There may be misery, there may be pain from that, there may be disappointment from that. But whatever it is, it's the end of being fooled, whether externally or internally. So the thing I highlighted was beware of burning bridges, because there's been a lot of ending of cycles. So it's like, you don't have to burn it up, Miss Aries. You can just let it be. It's just, don't have to fire. It's just like, yep, it's the end. It's the end. Whatever it is, it's the end of a thing. End of a relationship or end of business affairs or what have you. It's the end of a delusion. So then it was interesting that the next card was the journey, which is all about new goals and new revelation and understanding, doorways. And so don't burn bridges and instead create the positive change you want. And then the last one was change. And it's two of pentacles, but they draw a lot of comparison for this particular card to the Ouroboros snake eating itself. It's like change is the only constant, and it just keeps going and going and going. So though there is this ruin and these new goals, it's also like that's just the cycle of life. You just keep on keeping on. And I wrote, learn agility in handling several situations at once and focus on harmonious change. So it's like, okay, all right, big upheaval, whatever it is, but remember to know how to just, this is the cycle. We're just doing the cycle, and we're birth, death, dying, keep going around. So, yep, birth, growth, dying, around we go.
So that the tarot deck that I work with also came back up this month, and the image on the back of all of them and on the back of all of them is this like infinity snake symbol, and then the guidebook and the box have an Ouroboros specifically on them. It's the deck that when I work with it, I'm like, there are timey-wimey things happening. Like there's like deep time things. And in particular, this card, so I pulled the Seven of Swords. And this art is very intense. So it's so you've got, so there's like threads, and also I'm getting a little bit of like spiderweb vibes, but they're like threads with the five swords like pointing up, and there's like, this deck in particular uses a lot of like little mini imagery within the larger imagery. So so two of the swords have like the crescent of the five swords pointing upward have the crescent moons. Two of the swords have like crystal pommels, so like crystal stones, and then the fifth one, that's like the topmost one, has a combination of the crystals and the crescents. But then the two swords that are facing downwards have wings, and there are these like bird legs coming in from the top to kind of like cradle the scene, but everything has this like these like threads that are, some are still connected, some are like broken and frayed, and like I don't know, I would say I don't know a lot about the swords suit. I think that coins is probably the suit I know the most about. But this year in particular, swords have been showing up a lot in the day, like across the days as a repeating image. Like swords have been really prominent. Swords and knives, sharp, like cutting implements, I think. Hi. But yeah, so I didn't really interpret this one because I haven't read the guidebook specifically what it says about this particular iteration of it. Hi.
I love your
Yeah,
sounds, little one. I love your sounds.
we're making lots of noises.
Yeah,
It's
I love it.
great.
Yeah, I love it.
Are you gonna eat my shoulder?
Nah.
Yeah.
I imagine that key shoulder is very tasty.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. It's got lotion on it, so it's well marinated. At least
Oh,
the dog thinks so.
yeah.
Mhm.
Got to keep it tender.
Yeah. Pepper, all of our lotion has like vegetable glycerin, which is also in dog treats, apparently.
Ooh.
And so whenever we put lotion on ourselves or the baby, she's like, "Oh, you're just marinating yourself for me to lick later, right?" And we're like, "Sure, sure, Pepper."
Adorable. Well, friends, we said that we would gather for an hour once we started in earnest, which is in 4 minutes. And we have 3 more months to get through. So, do we want to set up another day, or do we want to hang around for another half hour and get through 2025? Where are folks sitting?
Personally, I have a desire to stay, but also outside life says go be outside life. So part of me is like, yeah, let's just do 3 months. Let's go. And then I'm like, no, wait, it's actually okay. No, it's 8 o'clock. We gotta do bedtime things and shifting and preparing and parenting. We have to do parenting.
I am also of the baby needs a new diaper and is giving me sleepy signals. So I mean it's not likely that she's going to go to sleep in the next half hour, but she's starting to make motions in that direction. And there's this kind of nice feeling, if folks are up for it, of like we did like the first 4 months, we did the second four-ish months, and then finishing with a third, like kind of breaking it into three feels very we didn't quite do quarters, but like it feels kind of in that vibe. So we did tries instead.
Yeah, we did it. We did triads.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go.
triads. Yeah,
triads.
which also feels very, triads. So
Fitting.
Love it.
It fits.
So, looking ahead,
Yes.
I do not think I will be working the Broadway show next Wednesday. So if this Wednesday night time works for folks, maybe we say 6:30 next time, since 6 o'clock has been a little on the challenging side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
Turtles have low needs, and she's kind of ignoring me because it's winter time. So, so yeah, totally. I could totally be. We could do 6:30 next week,
Yeah.
the 15th.
I have something on the calendar, but I'm not sure I need to be there. So I'm gonna put in to be here on the 15th and figure out what this thing is on the calendar and go from there. So,
Okay.
yep.
Sounds delightful.
All right.
Have a beautiful evening, Freya.
Yeah.
Cool.
See you next week.
All right.
all right, see y'all
All
next
right.
week.
See you next
Bye.
week.
See you next
Bye.
week.
Bye,
Bye.
little one.
Bye.
Bye.